All right. Welcome to the 2015 UTLA Leadership Conference. What a great crowd, how great it is to see everybody out there. And what a pleasure to be introduced by such a great group of officers. Cecily Myard-Cruz, Betty Forrester, Juan Ramirez, Colleen Schwab, Arlene Inoue, and Daniel Barnhart. And I'm going to throw in our executive director, Jeff Good, as well. Thank you for everything that you do, for your leadership, for carrying your classroom experience with you wherever you go, and for your unwavering commitment to being a team for the good of the union through smooth times and rough times. I love all of you. My most important teammates, of course, are my family, my wife, Ann, 11-year-old Max, and my 7-year-old Ella. I knew that Ella was on the right track when I found in her second grade notebook a crumpled up poster and petition that she and her friends had made to try to get the second grade boys to stop messing with the second grade girls. And I was thinking, leave it to Ella to start organizing for power in second grade. I knew I needed to learn some things from my Max when he got tired on a recent hike, and at a certain point, just decided that the way he was going to deal with his fatigue was to run ahead, get to the top of the mountain first, and then go to sleep. Sleeping a little too close to the edge of a cliff for my comfort, but he really was sound asleep. Clearly, Max knows how to persevere and then reward himself and give his parents heart attacks at the same time. Next week, my wife Ann and I will have been married 21 years. August 7th, and Ella chose to be born that day so that she could get all the attention 365 days a year, not just 364. About 22 years ago, as true anti-standardized testing activists, Ann and I gave each other authentic assessments to see whether we'd pass each other's tests and be worth each other's time. She agreed to play basketball with me on a Friday night and only gently ridiculed my heap of a car. And I agreed to go to a Johnny Mathis concert with her in Vegas. She has great taste in music, right? We passed each other's tests, and the rest is history. I love you, Ann, Max, and Ella. Speaking of history, let me say this. The people in this room made history last year. You built around the schools LA students deserved. You organized at work sites. You hit the streets. You hit the airwaves. You built a campaign that was covered from the New York Times to National Public Radio, to the European press, to La Jornada. We did that. Who did that? We did. I didn't hear it. Who did that? We did. Okay. So who are our folks who made history? Your UTLA Board of Directors. Give them another round of applause. Your UTLA managers and staff. Give them another round of applause. Our guests and our affiliate partners from around the state and country who have given us such a huge lift. Give them a round of applause. And now for the most important people who made history, our backbone, and I better hear a strong union clap for this one. Chapter chairs, co-chairs, vice chairs, house members, and leaders at work sites, you all out there. For the team that has been working nonstop, having to find overflow rooms because this conference has created such excitement. The members of the Leadership Conference Committee who have put this great event together, let's give them a big round of applause. And we, of course, want to thank the workers here at La Quinta, just like the workers at the Concourse Hotel last year and the workers at the Bonaventure Hotel in LA, whom we'll be with for our leadership conferences in 2016 and 2017. We very much appreciate your work. So why did we take up the challenge to make history last year? Because students all over Los Angeles, like the family members of my former students at Crenshaw High School, deserve more. Elijah Simmons' cousin deserves lower class sizes. Stephanie Alvarez's sister deserves more time with her counselor. Tawhida Shakur's niece deserves a clean and safe school. Yahida Sushite's brother deserves ethnic studies and the arts. James Law's uncle deserves adult education classes. Fabiola Leiva's sister deserves high-quality early education. Students all over deserve high-quality special education, bilingual education, high-quality education, period. Is that right? So what did you and your coworkers do last year as first steps in building the movement for the schools LA students deserve? Well, you were able to do one thing pretty quickly. And you're going to like this one. You sure liked it back in October. You sent the most prominent corporate superintendent in the United States packing. By getting John Daisy out of LA, we sent an early message. Schools aren't businesses, students aren't numbers, our profession isn't a stopover, and fighting for educational, racial, and social justice is a dead serious, on-the-ground endeavor, not a convenient set of words you use to try to advance yourself to the U.S. Department of Education. Goodbye, John Daisy. Can I hear you say that? We never got to formally say that, so I just wanted to make sure we did. There you go. He left some gifts for us, unfortunately. You did something else that took a little bit longer. You took the first steps in building UTLA into an organizing union. We built escalating actions that more and more members, parents, students, and community members got involved with over time. Give one single clap when you hear something that you were involved in. Red Shirt Tuesdays. October sticker up for class size and staffing. November 20th regional rallies. February 10th sticker up for health benefits. February 12th school site picketing. And you know this one, February 26th Stand at Grand Rally. You also did something as part of this escalation that was quite amazing. Our members organized faculty meeting boycotts across the entire city. In the traditions of the labor movement and the civil rights movement, of job actions and civil disobedience, we showed moral authority by taking a risk while promoting an alternative vision. How did you organize it? You went to chapter chair trainings, you had one-on-one conversations with your colleagues, you built support for the action, you worked your lists, and you built an accountability system with your colleagues so that there was massive participation. We didn't just demonstrate moral authority. We showed grassroots power that disrupted business as usual and highlighted what our schools really need. Give yourselves a round of applause for that. What else did we do last year? Our charter school members mobilized and had contract victories across several different schools and employers. In LAUSD bargaining, you won a great agreement on health benefits, and you won a great contract agreement. Let's hear it for 10%, right? Let's hear it for victories around class size, counselor ratios, due process, and evaluation. And we came out in historic numbers to approve those agreements, about as close to unanimously as you can in a 35,000 member organization. What message did we send to the city and the country with that vote? We are the power. I like it. I like it. It's not what I was going to say, but I like it. That we're proud of what we organized for, and we're moving forward. We also took important steps towards becoming a social movement union. Many of you organized across the city with parents, building fantastic events like the class size and staffing bus tour. We worked with community organizations to support undocumented students and their families, to organize Black Lives Matter and Latino Lives Matter panels, to push back against the school-to-prison pipeline by fighting for additional counselors, and more. When it came to elections, you stood toe-to-toe with the billionaires, and we were able to win the state superintendent race and 3 out of 4 LAUSD school board races. That's my son, Max. We continue to stand toe-to-toe with the billionaires as we support the Alliance Charter Educators in their brave efforts to organize a union against an aggressive anti-union campaign from management. Are we going to stick with them? And finally, in the last year, you sent the message that we live by the old union adage, an injury to one is an injury to all. When 609 layoff notices were sent out, we immediately initiated the All the Pieces Matter campaign, working with adult education, SRLDP, Health and Human Services, elementary teachers, secondary teachers, and more to fight for vital student programs and positions. Over 250 of those layoff notices have now been rescinded, and Ramon Cortines has stated publicly that he intends to rescind 241 more adult education notices. We are not going to rest until we have thrown every punch we can in the fight to win back those programs and positions. Are we going to continue that fight, folks? So we accomplished a lot last year. You and the broader energy of people power were a huge part of that. But we wouldn't have been able to pull it off without critical additional resources and staffing from our affiliates, CFT, CTA, AFT, and NEA. And we wouldn't have been able to do it without the UTLA House of Representatives voting overwhelmingly to draw money from our strike fund to support organizing. While it would be nice to celebrate 2014-15 by saying it was an unqualified success and then just close the book, to do so would be foolish. Let's be clear, and let's be clear-eyed. Last year, we did relatively well in a series of short-term battles, but it is a much longer-term war we are involved in. Our adversaries in that war are some of the richest people on the planet Earth. And they are attempting to build new layers of segregation in schools, continue to defund public education, privatize public goods, destroy teachers' unions, and roll back the civil rights and social safety net. That's right, shame on them. What adversaries are we talking about? We've got a very participatory class. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. Very exceedingly high class size though, so we're gonna have to do something about that. We're talking about our adversaries. We're talking about Eli Broad, a billionaire who was one of John Daisy's biggest supporters and who is putting on a full court press to make sure that a corporate reformer is the next LAUSD superintendent. Through his institute and funding, Broad has trained and placed over 120 corporate reformers into high-level management positions in school districts and corporate charters across California. He's close with the management of the Alliance charter chain, a management that is disrupting the educational program by attacking educators who simply want a voice. Broad puts himself forward as a progressive, concerned about income inequality, standing next to Eric Garcetti in rallies to raise wages. Yet, while he publicly stated that he supported Prop 30, he scandalously sent money to a PAC in Arizona that funneled cash secretly into the campaign to defeat that very proposition. And if this wasn't bad enough, Broad made sure he also gave money to the effort to pass Proposition 32, which attacked unions. What other adversaries are we talking about? We're talking about billionaire John Arnold. Not necessarily a household name, but let me tell you about John. Arnold gives money to the Walton Foundation, of Walmart fame, to Parent Revolution, which destabilizes schools, to Students First, which is key to the Vergara and Bain lawsuits that target teachers and unions, to Teach for America, and to several organizations that were key to destabilizing public education and creating new layers of segregation in New Orleans. But there's more. Arnold gives enormous sums of money to extraordinarily conservative organizations like the Manhattan Institute. That institute promotes policies that directly hurt our students and their families, advocating against civil rights, against immigrant rights. And the Manhattan Institute wants to destroy the rights of public sector workers who have served our communities by leading attacks on health care benefits and by attempting to eliminate defined benefit pensions. Sisters and brothers, this is what we're facing, and we should have no illusions that Eli Broad and John Arnold are faraway forces that don't touch us. From Prop 30 to the LAUSD superintendent search to the Alliance charter struggle, Eli Broad is pushing against us. Add to that many of his billionaire friends have benefited from an office of the general counsel at LAUSD, led by David Holmquist, that writes sweetheart contracts for corporations while promoting law and order for educators and students. Microsoft, Deloitte, Apple, Pearson have all been beneficiaries of LAUSD's loosey-goosey, corporate-friendly contracts. And it is the funding and influence of people like John Arnold that have shaped the public debate on health benefits and pensions, and that virtually guarantees that LAUSD and many charter employers will aggressively attack our health benefits in 2017. As never before, we will need to be ready to build escalating actions, and we will need to build the capacity to strike in 2017. Will we be ready? Yes. Will we be ready? Yes. Are we going to start getting ready now? Yes. While Broad and Arnold stand for the 1%, we have to just as clearly stand for the rest of us. Our students, their families, our coworkers, our profession. That is fundamentally what the Schools LA Students Deserve campaign is about. I'm excited to share with you tonight that the UTLA Board of Directors has approved a strategic plan for 2015 to 2017 that carries the school's LA Students Deserve campaign into its next phase. A strategic plan is a long-term roadmap. It is unprecedented for UTLA to have a plan of this clarity and breadth, and we need it. We're thrilled that we'll get your initial feedback and insights on the plan in the core trainings tomorrow. The plan is based on 3 strategic anchors for UTLA over the next 2 years: standing for fairness, fighting for resources, strengthening our union. Those strategic anchors lead us into 8 issue areas that will define our work. First, contract bargaining in LAUSD and UTLA represented charter schools. In the LAUSD contract, you know that we have reopeners this year around class size, staffing, and evaluation. There are several reopeners and contract renewals across UTLA represented charter schools. In order to prevent a competitive race to the bottom in learning conditions, working conditions, and pay, and instead create a progressive launching pad from which to build all contracts, we must organize around bargaining again this year. Second, we have to inject the school's LA Students Deserve priorities into the district-wide LAUSD Local Control Accountability Plan and charter system local control accountability plans. These LCAPs guide and direct state funding. We have a huge opportunity to link them to our reopeners and push for further investments into class size reduction, health and human services, and other staffing, student services, classes that make a well-rounded curriculum, and real educator development and support. Third, go ahead and give it a hand. I'm telling you folks, the LCAP is sexy, right? The LCAP, Local Control Accountability Plan. Third, we have to take on the issue of public school accountability, or fighting for basic standards across all publicly funded schools, district and charter alike. We're talking about common sense standards like equity and access for all students, management by the public, not by corporations, financial transparency, and more. Quite simply, if you use public money, you have to serve and be accountable to the public. Public school accountability's partner is public school sustainability. This means that we have to fight for basic regulations that create an entire school system that works collaboratively, publicly, and under regulations, not competitively, influenced by corporations and without regulations. Only this will ensure that all students are served. Quite simply, rampant deregulation was not good for the economy, and it is not good for students in schools. Just visit a Prop 39 co-located school to get a picture of the deregulated, competition-laced environment that we need to correct. These are schools where students who used to have a dance studio or counseling center, and parents used to have a parent center, and suddenly they don't have them anymore. They are told that the solution is to compete for students and families. No. We're tired of our students, overwhelmingly students of color, being used in free market experiments where they are constantly given a choice between 2 unacceptable alternatives. Are we going to accept that? Fourth, we must support charter school educator unionization and voice. Thousands of educators and tens of thousands of students whose parents we need to engage more than any other place in the country. We need to engage them in those charter schools, and we've got more than any other place in the country. It is the right thing to do to support these educators' right to a union and professional voice. And it is an essential thing to do to work with these educators and engage these parents as we organize to win basic standards, basic regulations, and coordinated contracts that raise the floor for learning conditions and working conditions. When I taught at Crenshaw High School, I took on a student teacher each year from UCLA. Christy McLaughlin, I got some UCLA fans out there. Christy McLaughlin was one of the best of them. She connected with students and families, teaching critical thinking rather than narrow test taking, and always sat in on our weekly union meetings. When she was finished with student teaching, and with jobs in LAUSD hard to come by, Christy took a job with a charter school. She didn't drink the anti-union Kool-Aid, she took a job. Christy is an educator serving the students of Los Angeles. She has great ideas about teaching in schools, and she is a great advocate. We need to be connecting with, learning from, and building a movement with the Christy McLaughlins of Los Angeles charter schools. Fifth, we need to highlight, support, and build successful school models. For too long, UTLA, with our silence, has allowed others to project themselves as experts on teaching, learning, and school improvement. Eli Broad, John Arnold, and John Daisy have stepped into that vacuum. That needs to stop. As we highlight UTLA members like Katie Range-Briggs, Jorge Lopez, and Kirti Baranwal, who are building community school models, and as we organize across schools to give strength to true best practices, we build better schools and we give lie to the claim that teacher union contracts stand in the way of school success. Sixth, we need to focus on school site empowerment, contract enforcement, member rights, and working conditions. Whether it is preparing our members and parents to organize around school site budget priorities, to take on a bad principal. Have you ever heard of one of those, a bad principal? Anybody? Heard of one of those? Okay. Okay. Just checking for understanding there. Whether you're taking on a bad principal, enforcing the new class size MOU, fighting against too much testing, organizing for a healthy, clean, and instructionally sound alternative to breakfast in the classroom, building a truly functioning restorative justice program, or challenging the principal through our new grievance language, this school site work is essential. I'm thrilled that the core trainings this weekend put forward a tool for organizing that will help build exactly this kind of school site work across the city. Seventh, we need to continue engaging electoral politics and legislation. This year brings us the opportunity to organize the new LAUSD school board around the school's LA students deserve priorities. It brings us the opportunity to organize for more school funding by expanding UTLA's role in the Make It Fair coalition that seeks to ensure that billionaire commercial property owners pay their fair share in taxes. This year also brings threats politically and electorally. A well-funded initiative that will attack educator pensions and a possible Supreme Court decision in the billionaire-backed Friedrichs case that would make it legal for employees to gain the benefits of the union without contributing their fair share of dues. We need to expand our engagement in the political arena. While this is a lot, it all comes back to our three anchors: standing for fairness, fighting for resources, and strengthening our union. Our strategic plan is aggressive because it has to be. It is honest because it never helps to falsely diminish challenges in front of us. And it calls on all of us to be long-distance runners because it is over a 2-year span. Sisters and brothers, it is because of the challenges we face and because we need to be long-distance runners that we, together, need to be the UTLA leadership, the broad leadership, including chapter leaders, activists, board of directors, officers, staff, everyone in this room. We need to be the leadership that bites the bullet, takes responsibility for the organization, and does something that hasn't been done since 1970. We need to change our membership dues structure. At tomorrow's lunch session, you'll learn more about this, which is the 8th piece of the strategic plan. But let me give you a couple of punchlines. Our dues structure hasn't been changed in over 4 decades, and it is severely antiquated. UTLA members contribute the lowest membership dues of any local teachers union in the state of California. We range from paying $32 less per month per member than educators in the tiny Lenox district right next to us, to paying $41 less per month per member than huge New York City across the country from us. Just as important, when our affiliate partners in CFT, AFT, CTA, and NEA decide through their representative bodies to raise their dues to do the critical national and state work that they do, virtually every other union in the state of California passes that cost through to members. UTLA has not done that for 45 years, which has led to a structural deficit, which, if left unaddressed, will leave us either bankrupt or dramatically weakened within the next few years. Resource-wise, we were able to achieve our victories last year because the House of Representatives drew from the strike fund, and because the affiliates gave UTLA support far beyond what is typical. Neither of those are sustainable. We as UTLA, brothers and sisters, need to take care of our own house. After much research, number crunching, and deliberation, we believe that UTLA needs a $19 per month per full-time member increase in dues. I know that we went for 8 years without a pay increase, and I know that every penny counts. A $19 per month increase acknowledges our members' tough situations financially, still leaves UTLA with lower dues than almost every other local union in California. But it's enough to address our deficit and gives us critical resources to build the Schools LA Students Deserve campaign. $19 is a responsible number. With this kind of dues restructuring, the union can increase school site support, parent community organizing, legal support and member defense, and can build an aggressive public relations campaign in the media. Every one of these is essential in the war against the billionaires. It is critical to know that being in the weakened financial position that we've been in the past several years has made us even more of a target. We're asking for it, folks. A significant part of the strategy behind John Daisy's teacher jail was to drive our legal costs up so much that we would fail financially. Their strategy has had a negative impact on us financially for sure, but just as importantly, we were not able to serve our members legally in the way that we should have during the Daisy years. This is why another piece of the restructuring that UTLA needs is to become part of CTA Group Legal Services, which is an expanded legal program that will directly help our members. In sum, to build the strategic plan, to fight the billionaires, to win what will be the existential threat to health benefits in 2017, and to continue the fight for the Schools LA Students Deserve, UTLA must increase dues, address the pass-through issue, and become a fully affiliate merged union to have access to CTA Group Legal Services. Quite simply, UTLA needs to invest in itself the way serious organizations have always invested in themselves from the civil rights movement of the 1960s, where people were giving money to organizations for decades before they took on that fight out in the public the way that it happened. From those organizations that people invested in, frankly, to the organizations of our adversaries today, which they invest in. We have to invest in our organization just the same. This weekend, especially in tomorrow's lunch session and core trainings, we are taking the first steps in what will be a deep, months-long citywide dialogue with our members about this dues restructuring. That will culminate in a membership vote sometime this academic year. But we need a conversation about it with our members. We're going to do it just the way we've been doing everything, together. That dialogue is embedded within the following immediate action steps coming out of the strategic plan. First, officers, staff, and directors will be doing a school site visit blitz over the first months of school to discuss the overall strategic plan with members, including the dues restructuring. Second, very early on in the school year, we will be having chapter chair trainings on how to consolidate our contract victories from last year. In particular, how to organize at the school using the new MOU on class size and the new language on evaluation, and how to use the new grievance procedure to solve problems at the school site and organize pressure on principals. Third, we will be having a second round of chapter chair trainings in the fall. These will address organizing local school leadership councils at school sites. And the trainings will address a citywide strategy, working with parents and community to shape LAUSD's and charter managers' local control accountability plans, to support our priorities in contract reopeners and in the broader Schools LA Students Deserve campaign. It will be an aggressive start to an aggressive 2-year strategic plan. Sisters and brothers, I'm going to end with this. We built power when we stood with over 15,000 people in Grand Park. We built power when members knew that their actions had led to concrete results with the contract. We built power when all of the LAUSD school board members and elected officials from around the state spoke in support of our agreement. We built power when we stood with parents at bus tours, caravans, community forums, press conferences, and school board podiums. Let's be clear, we are a more powerful union than we were a year ago. But we must be a stronger union tomorrow than we are today, because the challenges in front of us are greater and more dangerous than they were yesterday. When I see you here tonight, when we have a leadership conference that is bursting at the seams with attendance, when I hear your excitement, I know that we're all ready to continue building that power for the schools LA students deserve. For a UTLA that stands for fairness, that fights for resources, that invests in itself for current and future fights. Make no mistake about it. It is not going to be easy, but we will do this in the same way we took every step last year, together. Let's dialogue with our members about the critical issues we face as a union. Let's build on last year's victories. Let's organize with members and parents around the strategic plan. Let's together go down in history as the broad leadership in UTLA. Chapter chairs, co-chairs, vice chairs, chapter leaders, directors, house members, staff, officers, everyone in this room. Let's go down in history as the broad leadership that refused to shrink from the challenge, that made the hard decisions, and that did what we needed to do for the students, for our union, for public education, and for the future. You are all wonderful. We will do this together. Have a great night, have a great conference, and keep on organizing for the schools that LA students deserve.